Good evening. Just last week, he was named to the #1 spot on Canada's most wanted list.
And tonight, he is in police custody, wanted for a homicide here in Toronto, arrested by police in Charlottetown, P.E.I. CTV's Siobhan Morris has been following this story. She joins us live with the update. Siobhan.
Well, Michelle, Toronto police can't really share much about how long Michael Bebee might have been in P.E.I., but they do say ultimately it was a tip from the public that led to his arrest. This is an arrest almost 10 months in the making.
He was our most wanted person in Toronto and was on our BOLO program.
Michael Bebee was at the top of that Be on the Lookout list announced just last week. A fugitive since last summer when police allege he shot and killed Shamar Powell Flowers near Danforth and Carlaw.
You robbed me of everything.
The death devastating Powell Flowers' family. Police say Bebee was ultimately caught thanks to a tip from the public.
He was arrested yesterday in Charlottetown, PEI, for the offense of second-degree murder. He was arrested and appeared in court this morning.
Arrangements are being made to get Bebee to Toronto in the next few days to answer to charges.
When a homicide occurs, it's such a hard thing for the family to deal with, and now we're just thankful that this family now has closure.
For Powell Flowers' mother, this has been a roller coaster 24 hours.
It's not what I expected. I thought I would be celebrating, but I'm not. I'm not, because my son is still dead and he's still alive.
She is grateful someone spoke up to lead to Bebee's arrest.
It's good that I had a heart. I realized we needed it. There's no closure. Please, I want people to understand there is no closure.
Now, Crime Stoppers had offered $100,000 as a reward for any information leading to Bebee's arrest. It's not clear at this point how quickly that cash might flow. Reporting live from Toronto Police Headquarters, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Police in P.E.I. region are searching for a suspect after a fatal stabbing in Brampton this morning.
The man was found inside an apartment building after police were called there for a disturbance. CTV's Janice Golding has more.
Someone rang my doorbell.
Honestly, not sure. I was just inside. I had no clue. I came out to do some groceries, some chores, and
many residents who live at Baycliffe Crescent and Crossbill Road near Beauvert and Creditview shocked to discover a man had been stabbed to death in their midst.
It's horrifying. It's tragic, especially in our area. It's quite a quiet area. Nothing like this usually happens in this part of town.
Police say they got a call about a disturbance at 8:30 a.m. When they arrived, they found an adult male in serious condition outside a second-floor unit. He was rushed to hospital where he would die from his injuries.
However, the exact location of where this occurred, where the interaction occurred, whether it occurred in one location or whether it was ongoing through multiple areas of the apartment building, that's still part of the investigation.
Residents call the fatal stabbing all the more alarming given it occurred during the morning rush.
And I'm really upset to hear that news. I hope it never happened, especially in this area because my kids are going to school.
It's unsettling, it's nerve-wracking, it makes me feel like worried about safety for sure, right?
Police say they want to reassure the public that they're doing all they can to find whoever's responsible.
We understand how unnerving this and something like this would be at 8:30 a.m. and we want to assure everyone that resides in the area that we will be making all investigative efforts to determine the cause of this.
Police add they don't believe there's further risk to public safety, calling this an isolated incident, given investigators say the victim and his killer knew one another. Now, given this did happen at 8:30 in the morning, police believe a number of residents would have heard or seen something relevant, so they're urging the community to cooperate and come forward with whatever information they might have. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Toronto police are searching for a suspect after a woman was stabbed downtown last night. Officers were called to the area of Yonge and Dundas around 9:15 for reports of a stabbing. When they arrived, they found a woman in her 20s suffering from serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Police say the suspect ran from the scene and they're asking anyone who might have some information to come forward. An audio recording from an OPP dispatcher is shedding light on the moments leading up to a deadly crash in Whitby on Monday.
The incident is being investigated by the SIU as it was sparked by a wrong-way police chase down the 401. CTV's Raheem Ladani has been following the investigation and joins us live with the latest. Raheem.
Nathan and Michelle, good evening. What makes this audio so compelling is that we can hear an officer actually predict that this police chase would end in tragedy. A police chase in the wrong direction down Highway 401 is raising concerns over if officers made the correct decision in pursuing a suspect in a high-speed chase.
Is the risk of harm in letting the suspect go greater than the risk of continuing and putting other people in harm's way?
Audio obtained by CTV News details the radio call between OPP dispatch and OPP officers after initial reports that a liquor store in Clarington was robbed Monday night.
Durham advising there was a male inside the LCBO. He tried to rob the store. He pulled a knife on an off-duty officer. Left in a vehicle.
The off-duty officer contacted Durham Regional Police, which then began pursuing the suspect.
They have 12 units behind the vehicles.
Over the next several minutes, the chase moved from residential streets onto the highway. The suspect entered the 401 at Stevenson Road in Oshawa, traveling in the wrong direction. Seconds behind the suspect, police cruisers followed, also in the wrong direction.
Durham's in pursuit. The wrong way is going westbound and eastbound lanes. Passing fixing.
This officer continues to tell dispatch about the risky situation unfolding.
Comm center, if we can pass on, just want to make sure the Durham sergeant's aware that they're driving the opposite direction. Someone's going to get hurt.
We're calling him out.
13 minutes after the initial dispatch call, the suspect's cube van crashed, causing a 6-vehicle pileup. The collision killed the suspect, a 60-year-old grandfather, 55-year-old grandmother, and their infant grandchild.
All right, all cars, transport head on. Vehicle is stopped. Durham's on scene.
It wasn't a homicide. It wasn't a kidnapping. It's tough to justify that the action they took, going the wrong way in the highway, was the right action.
The Special Investigations Unit has taken over the case. Part of their role will be to determine if officers acted in line with policies on suspect apprehension pursuits.
That leads to the potential of criminal charges, for example, a dangerous driving causing death, criminal negligence causing death, or even potential civil lawsuits for the families of the loved ones that they lost.
According to the Durham Regional Police website, a helicopter is available to safely track a suspect vehicle across highways and residential streets 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In a statement, the service says, "We understand there are many questions. However, this is a legislated process regarding investigations conducted by the SIU that our service must adhere to." The SIU has said no officers were injured during the chase. We've also confirmed that the SIU believes there were 2 people inside the cargo van at the time of the incident. One individual who was pronounced dead at the scene, another was taken to hospital with serious injuries. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. And still ahead tonight, the debate over drug decriminalization sets its sights on Toronto, while the leader of the federal opposition says changes need to be made to ensure issues plaguing Vancouver don't end up here.
But first, let's take a live look outside. The sun's still shining. Skies are clear. We are also in for a warm-up tomorrow. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Hey, Jessica.
Hey, a beautiful end to our day. It was a little rocky this morning. We had all that fog out there. We had some advisories in place. They lifted as we made our way throughout the lunch hour, making way for a beautiful second half to our day and a great way to kind of welcome in the month of May. Winds are a little gustier right now, still kind of out of the southeast, southwest, and then we're going to see those kind of shift as we head into the day tomorrow. Gusts a little stronger down towards Windsor, through Niagara, and up towards Muskoka. As we make our way around southern Ontario, the bulk of the warmth really is in that southwestern corner. Windsor, 26 degrees right now for us here in the city. We're a little cooler, not by much, but we're sitting at 15. As we head into the day tomorrow, this warmth pushes towards us and we are climbing into the 20s. And really for the next 5 to 7 days, we're at or above the seasonal mark. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including the warmth that is on the way and more rain. But right now, I'll send things back to Michelle.
Thanks, Jess. The Leafs lived to see another game after a thrilling overtime win in Boston last night. Still ahead, we'll hear from the players on their plans to ensure a win in Game 6 here at home tomorrow.
A motorcyclist is dead after a crash on the 401. This happened just after 7 o'clock this morning in the westbound collector lanes past Port Union. Police say the 27-year-old Toronto man on the motorcycle was rushed to hospital without vital signs after colliding with the back of a pickup truck. To a CTV News investigation next. A retired OPP sergeant is coming forward saying he tipped off the OPP about a jailhouse assault by an officer, one that was caught on video.
But he was told there wasn't even misconduct, even though years later a judge would convict the officer of a crime. As John Woodward reports, the person who told him there was no case is now a deputy commissioner of the OPP.
This is the video that ended up being crucial evidence in a conviction of OPP Constable Bailey Nichols, who grabs a woman arrested for public intoxication by the neck and shoves her head into cell bars at the Aurelia detachment in 2019. The incident wasn't reported to the SIU at the time, even though the woman was bleeding and needed 5 staples.
It was actually surreal. It was hard to believe.
Retired Sergeant Robin Moore heard about it from a contact in the force who had seen the video.
It's a crime scene. That should have been locked down immediately, and then notifications made from there. That contact, Constable Charles Ostrom, has told CTV News incident reports didn't match what he saw in the video. He tried to report it internally, but it didn't go anywhere. There is a fear of reprisals in that organization if you speak out. So he would have been punished. They couldn't touch me.
Moore wrote to OPP Commissioner Thomas Carrique, concerned about the incident and what he believed was a cover-up. That was in April 2020. About a month and a half later, he got this letter from the Professional Standards Bureau saying, "I can advise that in my capacity as the Bureau Commander of the Professional Standards Bureau, a review of this incident has been conducted, and I am satisfied that all officers involved did not commit misconduct." The letter signed by Marty Kearns. Kearns has since been promoted to Deputy Commissioner of the OPP. When we asked the OPP how Kearns came to that conclusion, a spokesperson told us the initial decisions made regarding misconduct were based on the information that was available at the time. The information regarding the severity of the injury did not meet the threshold for SIU notification. Moore also turned to the SIU, which got more information about the woman's injuries and invoked its mandate the following July. Last fall, Nichols was convicted of assault causing bodily harm.
It has to be a very, very high threshold of threat for a police officer to use that hold or restraint on an individual.
Criminologist Patrick Watson says it's hard to see this video and not see a serious incident.
They believed it reflected reasonable conduct, and I think this does raise issues for concern about the OPP's interpretation of events versus a citizen's interpretation of events.
The criminal case isn't over. Nichols has said she feared for her safety in the moment, and the Ontario Provincial Police Association has said it will appeal. The OPP says it's going to do a review of the incident and isn't ruling out further discipline now.
They were trying to make it go away. They wanted me to go away. I wasn't going away.
Moore thinks OPP brass should have seen earlier what he saw in that video and what a judge saw too. John Woodward, CTV News.
A decidedly different atmosphere during question period today, a day after Conservative leader P.E.I. got kicked out of the House.
Yet even with the new tone and less name-calling, Conservative MPs are accusing Greg Fergus of failing to be impartial, while the Liberals say the opposition leader is responsible for his own choice of words. CTV's Mike Couture has the latest.
There were no expulsions or walkouts, and the ramped-up rhetoric we saw yesterday gave way to a debate on the decriminalization of illicit drugs.
Will he announce now that his experiment with legalizing hard drugs in BC is over? Yes or no?
Pierre Poilievre kicked off question period asking for action on BC's opioid crisis, which just yesterday the Conservative leader called wacko. Today, the Prime Minister's responses were equally measured.
By moving forward with British Columbia as they wanted to try a pilot project, that we are working with them to adjust in ways that make sense. We understand the urgency and we will act.
That level of discourse surprising to some, considering how things went yesterday.
When will we put an end to this wacko policy by this wacko Prime Minister?
After the Speaker expelled Poilievre, his caucus called for Greg Fergus to be removed.
Should resign. He's a disgrace.
I never did have confidence in this speaker.
CTV News caught up with Greg Fergus, but he refused to address questions about his future.
Can't respond. It might be unfair for the speaker to comment on things that happen in the House.
Do you regret how things played out yesterday?
His office later said he has no intention of stepping down. Liberals put the blame on the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre.
Canadians expect us to work, to deliver for them, and not to act as children, and the leader of the opposition needs to stop acting as a child.
In an interview with Toronto's CP24, Poilievre was unapologetic for the language he used, which led to his removal from the House of Commons.
His policies are wacko. Hiking the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre, wacko. Doubling housing costs, wacko.
Now, it's unclear if the Conservatives will continue to call for the removal of the Speaker or if the tone of today's question period will also continue. Michael Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
And the hot topic of all the parliamentary debate has been the country's drug policy and whether decriminalization works.
Toronto's efforts to decriminalize small amounts of certain illegal drugs drawing the spotlight today. CTV's Beth McDonnell has that.
Curbing overdoses and saving lives in Toronto is at the heart of the matter. The city has asked the federal government for an exemption allowing people small amounts of illegal substances.
We need to stop Trudeau's tax-funded drug program.
Pierre Poilievre, Canada's opposition leader, is demanding Toronto's request be denied. He blames a similar policy in British Columbia for causing chaos, open drug use in public spaces, and further overdoses, and instead wants a focus on providing treatment.
We've already seen that 2,500 people die as a result of this policy happening in BC. And yesterday I was trying to get the Prime Minister to commit that he wouldn't import this wacko idea to Toronto.
Some advocates believe Poilievre's warning on decriminalization is theatrical.
Decrim, first of all, in the province of British Columbia is not about people using drugs outside. That's illegal. It's about possession of drugs. It's about, removing police from people's lives and the stigma and discrimination so people will access care and supports. That's what it's about. And public drug use is about homelessness.
The state of Oregon recently recriminalized drug possession after 3 years. The Measure 110 law, a first of its kind in the U.S. that came in during the pandemic, but got blamed for causing open drug use on streets and soaring overdoses. The Health Justice Recovery Alliance oversaw the law be enacted, which coincided with tenant evictions post-lockdowns.
There was independent studies done showing that had been tracking the impact of Measure 110, which showed that there was no evidence to support these ideas that this kind of lawlessness and chaos and overdose deaths were increasing because of the decriminalization.
Toronto's medical officer of health says she has never seen the drug supply so toxic. That decriminalization is a health issue and her job is to reduce harm, but it must come with more supports.
We need access to better treatment. We need access to better prevention opportunities. And of course, we need access to major supports, including housing.
Whether you're the Prime Minister, elected or leader of opposition, or premier or mayor, doesn't matter. It is the doctor that would know best. Things are evolving. Let's learn from the British Columbia experience, and from it, let's fine-tune our approach.
Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
A Quebec judge has rejected an injunction request from 2 McGill University students linked to a pro-Palestinian encampment on campus. A number of Jewish students argued the demonstration left them feeling unsafe. But a judge ruled the request to bar protesters from within 100 meters of any McGill University building was premature, noting the school had already requested police assistance. The demonstrators want McGill to cut financial and academic ties with Israel in response to the war in Gaza. McGill said it offered to hold a forum on the matter if the encampment is taken down. Campus tensions also continue in the U.S.
This was the scene overnight in California. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators and counter-protesters clashed on the UCLA campus. At one point, counter-protester tried to pull apart metal barricades around the encampment set up there. The mayor of Los Angeles called the violence at the school absolutely abhorrent and inexcusable. California's governor said anyone who engaged in illegal behavior should be held accountable.
You see police arming that device there. They're about a half block away. You're seeing what
In New York, police moved in on protesters who had barricaded themselves inside a building at Columbia University. Officers climbed into Hamilton Hall using a ladder truck to enter through a second-story window. New York police say at least 230 people were arrested as police in riot gear cleared the protest camp that was set up nearly 2 weeks ago.
At their request,
we went in and conducted an operation to allow Columbia University to remove those who have turned the peaceful protest into a place where anti-Semitism and anti-Israel attitudes were pervasive.
Protest organizers at Columbia and elsewhere have denied allegations of anti-Semitism. Regardless, the White House said the events on campus could not continue as they were.
Americans have the right to peacefully protest. They have the right to peacefully protest as long as it's within the law and that it's peaceful. Forcibly taking over a building is not peaceful. It's just not. Students have the right to feel safe. They have the right to learn. They have the right to do this without disruption.
This marks the second time in recent weeks Columbia's requested police assistance dealing with the so-called Gaza Solidarity encampment. A number of faculty members gathered today to question the decision to call in the cops who are set to remain on campus for the coming weeks.
In Gaza itself today, Palestinians held a demonstration thanking North American college students for taking part in these recent protests. With signs naming some of the institutions that have seen campus demonstrations, a crowd held up signs saying, "Thank you for your solidarity." Meanwhile, hospital authorities in Rafah say at least 2 children were killed when an Israeli airstrike hit a house late today. More than 34,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's response to the October 7th attacks, which killed 1,200 people in Israel and saw hundreds taken hostage.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was in Israel today pushing for a new ceasefire and hostage exchange deal.
Now, as we've been saying, it's on Hamas. Hamas has to decide whether it will take this deal and actually advance the situation for the people that it purports to care about in Gaza.
The truce would see 33 Israeli hostages exchanged for a larger number of Palestinian prisoners and a halt to fighting that could be extended. This comes as Israel indicates it's still planning to pursue Hamas brigades in Rafah, despite warning civilians will be caught in the crossfire. And amid ongoing concern over the humanitarian situation in Gaza, Israel today reopened its Erez crossing into the territory's north. The checkpoint was destroyed during Hamas's October 7th attacks and then remained closed. Israel agreed to reopen the crossing after admitting to airstrikes that killed 7 humanitarian workers delivering food aid. Their organization, the World Central Kitchen, also resumed operations in Gaza today.
Ukrainian officials say a Russian ballistic missile hit the port city of Odessa late today, injuring at least 13 people in the latest in a wave of strikes. This comes hours after the regional governor said 3 people were killed in a separate attack on Odessa. In the Kharkiv region today, at least 2 people were killed when a car was hit by what officials said were Russian-guided bombs. And there were skirmishes today inside the Georgian parliament as lawmakers advanced a controversial bill which critics say limits media freedom. The proposed law would require media and non-commercial organizations to register as foreign agents if they receive more than 20% funding from abroad. A similar bill was proposed and then withdrawn last year amid widespread protests, which have once again returned to the streets outside Parliament.
In Washington, hard-right Republicans are moving ahead with a vote to try and remove Speaker Mike Johnson.
It's the right thing to do for America. It's time to clean house and get our conference in order.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene said she'll trigger an official vote to oust her own party speaker after he passed foreign military aid bills in cooperation with Democrats. Democrats have said they'll help defeat the motion to remove Johnson. This comes as Vice President Kamala Harris visited Florida to highlight a new 6-week limit on abortions in that state.
As of this morning, 4 million women in this state woke up with fewer reproductive freedoms than they had last night. This is the new reality.
The VP linked the new restrictions to former President Donald Trump's appointment of a Supreme Court majority that overturned Roe v. Wade. Trump has suggested he wouldn't sign a national abortion ban supported by some Republicans. This comes as a majority of the Arizona State Senate agreed to repeal an 1864 ban on abortions allowed to take effect by the courts.
The calendar may say May 1st, but in Calgary and parts of central and southern Alberta, it sure feels like winter.
Every time you schedule something in May, you're just like, well, there can't be any more snow. There can't be any more snow, but there is more snow.
The region was hit by heavy, wet snow yesterday, toppling trees and knocking out power for several thousand homes. A snowfall warning calls for another 10 to 20 centimeters by tomorrow. Environment Canada says it could be as high as 30 to 50 centimeters along the foothills.
Coming up, the spread of bird flu in dairy cows below the border. We outline the extent of the H5N1 outbreak and concerns about the potential for cases here at home.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, if you travel to the U.S. often, you may want to get a Nexus card, which can make it easier to cross the border. But be careful you don't pay more money than you need to. A man paid $1,500 for Nexus cards and never received them. I'll have my reports just ahead.
The sunshine returned just in time to kick off a brand new month, and temperature-wise right now through the islands in Pearson, we're between 11 and 16 degrees. Stepping into the month of May, the average daytime high is around 18, the low is at 7, and getting into the day tomorrow, we exceed that and then some. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, and stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
If you're a frequent traveler to the United States, a Nexus card makes it a lot easier to speed up crossing the border.
You need to apply for a Nexus card and follow a process, but some websites are leading people astray and taking their money. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Nathan and Michelle, the cost to get a Nexus card is only $50 US, but if you go online, you'll see some services charging a lot more than that. But these companies won't get you a Nexus card any faster, and often they won't get you one at all.
The Trusted Traveler program between Canada and the U.S. is extremely popular, and almost 2 million Canadians have a Nexus card to help them cross the border faster and easier. There were delays to get a Nexus card during the pandemic, and if you're on social media, you may see companies that promise they can fast-track the process.
Social media promotion in my Facebook about their capacity to process to have a Nexus card.
A Mississauga man asks us not to use his name as he's dealing with a company that has his personal information. He used them to apply for a Nexus card for himself and his wife, but a year later he says he's being asked to send more money, even though no one can tell him when the cards will arrive.
I send them an email, I text them, I call them, but nothing.
So far he's paid $1,500 for Nexus cards and never received them. There are third-party websites charging completely unnecessary fees to get a Nexus card. In a statement, the Canada Border Services Agency told CTV News, CBSA does not request money for application fees through advertisement on social media, and that scammers attempt to imitate federal government services to gain access to personal and financial information. The agency added that using a third party will not speed up the process and could result in a delay or denial of a Nexus card.
You know what? I should have done a little bit more research on this one.
If you want to apply for a Nexus card, there is a non-refundable fee of $50 US per applicant for a 5-year membership. Use the Government of Canada website to find information on the program. Only follow their links and be suspicious if any company tries to add additional fees and claims they can speed up the process.
And along with applying for a Nexus card, you'll also have to arrange and sit for an in-person interview. While the current fee is $50 US, it is going up and will increase to $120 US October 1st. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, just a beautiful finish to the day weather-wise. It started one way. This morning, you wouldn't have been able to even see City Hall. There was so much fog. It really was affecting visibility. Nice to see that it's cleared out, and it is nice and mild for this time of day.
Yeah, big change, and I'm just hoping that this trend continues for a while and we can leave our jackets and store them away.
We've settled into what is a beautiful start to the month of May, and this continues. It gets even nicer into the day tomorrow. We're not done with the rain just yet for this week, but it feels better, I guess, when it's warm when it rains, and maybe that helps it, be a little easier to take. But overall, we are settling into an at or above seasonal trend over the next, week or so. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. Now, we did have all that cloud cover, that fog early on this morning, a very moody start to our Wednesday, but it really has rebounded quite nicely. And as we settle into our evening, into the day tomorrow, into our Friday, it is going to be fantastic. Again, that at or above seasonal mark for the next few days. Tonight, we're holding on at about 16, sitting right at that seasonal norm. Really warm into that southwestern corner again today, and this warmth is creeping closer and closer to us. We were just shy of seasonal yesterday, right on par today. We're right on the button, and into the day tomorrow, things get even nicer. Tonight, we're closer to seasonal. We're sitting at about 10. We should be at 7. Winds will be kind of out of the north, so it'll be a little cooler out there, but it is just overall nice and comfortable for sleeping and for just being outside. Into the day tomorrow, we're into the 20s. Finally, we get there. I know a lot of folks are looking forward to patio season, being outside. If you're going down to Maple Leaf Square tomorrow, it'll be really, really nice outside. Even better still into that southwestern corner, and this warmth continues to push its way across. The bulk of the shower activity today in northern Ontario, but there is kind of a series of lows on their way in that will kind of into the second half of our Friday, and then it really kind of increases into our Friday night. So your evening commute Friday will be a little bit soggy. But for now, we're not dealing with the rain. We're dealing with a whole lot of sunshine out there, and it continues into the day tomorrow. The UV index is very high at an 8, so even if it's not a brilliantly sunny afternoon, you still need the sun protection, the sunglasses, sunscreen, all those types of things as we kind of chug along through spring and in towards the beginning of summer. Into our Thursday evening, again, for the folks at Maple Leaf Square, it'll be fantastic to cheer on the Leafs. Or the Bruins, whoever you're cheering for. No judgment here. As we head in towards our Friday morning, it's really beautiful, but into the lunch hour, we get a light wave of showers. Into our Friday evening, it gets significantly heavier, so it is a soggy but mild end to the week. Temperature-wise, above seasonal for the high tomorrow, but we're pretty close to where we should be. Friday, also beautiful. Those afternoon showers kind of start to tiptoe in. The weekend will be soggy but mild, but we just won't pay attention to that. We'll look at next week, Nathan, and it's going to be fantastic as we settle into the first few days of May. So at or above seasonal.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Also tonight, get ready to paint the town rainbow. Toronto's 2024 Pride Festival is not far off. We check in with organizers as they outline their big plans for June. Health officials in Canada are watching closely as bird flu cases in a range of animals jump dramatically this year.
And as our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, many are calling for greater surveillance to stay ahead of the game.
H5N1, or avian flu, has been detected at dozens of dairy farms in the U.S., prompting inspections of ground beef and milk products. The virus has also been found in goats, dogs, and cats.
The number of mammals that are impacted and the diversity of mammals that are impacted is much larger this year compared to years past. That's concerning because we know this is an infection that has epidemic and pandemic potential.
Dr. Isaac Bogosh says while it's not easily transmissible between mammals,
and if more mammals are infected, the virus can obviously change and be more readily transmitted.
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says right now there's no evidence of avian flu in humans in Canada, and Canadian dairy farmers say Canadian dairy producers already adhere to some of the highest biosecurity standards in the world. It should be noted that only milk from healthy animals is authorized for distribution and for human consumption. But in the U.S., virus fragments have been found in grocery store milk. U.S. officials have said pasteurization eliminates the pathogens that could cause illness in humans, but in cats that were given raw milk at U.S. dairy farms, upwards of 50% of cats that tested positive for bird flu died of the virus. Matthew Miller of McMaster University has been studying bird flu transmission.
No, it's not inevitable that this will become widespread in humans, but the risk, I would say, is profound.
Miller says the current system of waiting until we see human cases will be too late to respond to a pandemic, so prevention is key.
I think systematic surveillance in cattle in Canada is warranted at this time, given what we know the risks are in the U.S.
Pauline Chan, CTV News.
They're getting set for one of the biggest parties of the year.
Pride is about remembering those who came before. Pride is about fighting the battles that still need to be fought. And pride is about partying.
Officials with Toronto Pride held a kickoff event at the CN Tower this morning. This year's theme is Be, with a blank line beside it, allowing people to define their own state of be, whether it be bold or be brave.
Pride Toronto will continue to lead the fight for the 2S LGBTQ+ community, whether it is here in Toronto, Alberta, New Brunswick, Quebec, and across the world.
This year's Pride Parade will take place on Sunday, June 30th, a culmination of events throughout the Pride Month. Everything from a drag ball, a Pride pool party, and Two-Spirit and Indigenous Pride events.
Since the 1970s, Canada has been called Hollywood North, and today Ontario is the third overall production center in North America, behind Los Angeles and New York.
In an effort to keep cameras rolling in Toronto, the city's leading a contingent to drum up more business. CTV's Andrea Case reports.
Mexican-born Oscar winner Guillermo del Toro has made Toronto his part-time home, and he's made many films here, including The Shape of Water. Toronto film producer J. Miles Dale has worked with del Toro on several productions.
Guillermo is undeniably a visualist. From design to color to camera, no detail is too small.
On this sunny day, snowmaking was on order.
And cut.
Dale was back on the set at Netflix studio in the Portlands today, greeting Mayor Olivia Chow. Behind them, a massive ship, a key piece of the set for their new film, Frankenstein, currently in production in Toronto. Now, Mayor Chow, along with a team of 40 industry professionals and politicians, are heading to Los Angeles to convince Hollywood what the city has to offer in all aspects of the evolving production industry.
Do know that the film and television industry is an important economic driver of our city. It employs more than 35,000 Torontonians, contributes more than $2.5 billion to our local economy, and is set to grow significantly over the next 10 years.
People say, why are you going there? What's the big deal? We're going there to let everybody know we are open for business, that we do great business, that we have tremendous crews, tremendous creativity, we have a great studio spaces, and we have a great tax credit.
Ontario Creates Justin Cutler says over the last 3 months, about 40 productions have scouted locations in Ontario.
These trips are mission critical for developing clients for Ontario and developing business for the province. It allows us to meet with presidents of production to talk about all the great assets that they can access in Toronto and Ontario broadly. And those productions do come based on those meetings.
30 meetings are planned. The city will not be on the hook for the entire cost of the 3-day trip. Companies pay their own way. It'll be a quick one from May 8th to the 10th. Andrea Case, CTV News.
After the break, a chance to clinch first place and secure home ice in the playoffs. The stakes are high as Toronto's PWHL team takes on Minnesota tonight.
He was arrested yesterday in Charlottetown, P.E.I. for the offense of second-degree murder. He was arrested and appeared in court this morning.
Updating our top stories, he was #1 on the list of Canada's most wanted, and tonight he's in police custody. Investigators say a tip from the public led to the arrest of Michael Bebee.
I didn't see the police arriving. Someone rang my doorbell.
Honestly, not sure. I was just inside. I had no clue. I came out to do some groceries, some chores, and
Residents of a Brampton neighborhood reacting with shock tonight after a man was stabbed to death in an apartment. Police say they believe the incident was targeted, and they don't believe there is a threat to public safety.
Is the risk of harm in letting the suspect go greater than the risk of continuing and putting other people in harm's way?
And the investigation continues into yesterday's fatal wrong-way crash on the 401 that killed 4 people, including an infant and its grandparents. The collision occurred after a cube van entered the highway in the wrong direction, trying to outrun police.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. If you ever have a news tip, photos, or video breaking news, let us know.
Canada and the U.S. could be on different paths when it comes to interest rates. For more, here's BNN Bloomberg's Amber Kanwar.
The U.S. Federal Reserve left interest rates at 2-decade highs today. The chair of the American Central Bank warned that it's going to take longer than expected to get inflation back down to the 2% target. This comes as recent data suggests inflation may be picking up south of the border. Here at home, however, Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem said we're getting closer to rate cuts as inflation and growth has cooled somewhat. Now let's take a look at the closing market numbers. The Canadian dollar edged up modestly to around 72 cents U.S. Oil prices slipped below $80 per barrel in the U.S., while Canadian energy prices also slipped below $69 per barrel. And it was a modest update on the TSX, adding just 14 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Amber Kanwar in the BNN Bloomberg Newsroom.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
The Toronto Maple Leafs have avoided elimination with a thrilling overtime win last night in Boston.
And now the team is returning to Toronto, faced with another do-or-die game tomorrow night. CTV's Shanley Thong has more.
Harris digging in on his off wing to the net, shoveled it in front, scores! Matthew Nye!
In a game where one shot can make the difference, the Leafs got what they needed last night, with Matthew Nye scoring the biggest goal of his young career.
I think what brought me more joy was to see the faces of my teammates and how much they wanted to keep playing and keep moving on.
Fans rejoicing in Maple Leaf Square after the win are once again hopeful.
We're bringing back your Toronto. We got to win this. Then we're going to go back in Boston, do it again.
But under the light of day this morning, opinions are a little more restrained.
It was a really good game. I mean, Boston's been giving us trouble for years, so just to see them pull out the win in Boston and bring it back home, yeah, pretty big.
In Toronto this afternoon, Leafs coach Sheldon Keefe says playing Game 6 at home is nice, but
quite honestly, it means nothing. We got to play the exact same way wherever it is. I mean, we're happy to give our fans another opportunity to play in front of them, but we have to approach the game no different.
So far in the series, the Leafs have failed to win on home ice. Dating back to last season, they've lost 6 straight at home in the playoffs. So players, too, are not making a distinction between home and away.
Same mindset as last game. It's another do-or-die game for us, and we need to be desperate.
There's also the question of Star center Austin Matthews, who missed last night's game. No update on his condition today, making it possible he could miss Game 6 as well.
Other players got to step up, right? Nothing else we can do about it. If he's not in the lineup or in the lineup, we just got to figure out how to win.
Stepping up last night, goaltender Joseph Woll with 27 saves in his first start of the series, contributing to fans' restrained confidence.
I think it's just going to be electric downtown tomorrow because I know I was here last night and a lot of people were like me, we didn't really have a lot of hope going into it, but with a big overtime win, I think that gives a lot of adrenaline.
Celebrating the overtime win was good. Great goal by Nyes, but yeah. Game 6 back here, and we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow.
Toronto's professional women's hockey league team will be looking to take sole possession of first place with a win over Minnesota tonight. The team's coming off a dominant performance against New York Sunday. Toronto took the game 6-2 for its second straight victory. The squad is currently tied with Montreal atop the PWHL standings with 41 points, but has a game in hand. Playoffs start next week.
Tonight, galloping towards a dream gig.
I just always love to be win, so I'm just ready for win.
A leading jockey with Canadian ties makes a giant leap to the Kentucky Derby. Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special shout out to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
There was a special moment for a Canadian baseball player making his major league debut last night.
I think hand-eye from hockey also helps.
There's a base hit to right field for my boy, Tyler Black.
23-year-old Tyler Black from Toronto was playing his first career game for the Milwaukee Brewers with his father, former TSN and CTV broadcaster Rod Black, in attendance. His dad was being interviewed in the 5th inning when Tyler got his second hit of the game. The Brewers ended up winning 8-2.
Beautiful moment, and I'm thinking if you're outside tonight, good weather for any activity.
It is. We're getting into that season where the dome's going to be open. Sports outside becomes much more enjoyable because you're not dealing with that little bit of a chill in the air, and it only gets nicer as we head in towards the end of the week as temperatures really soar above seasonal and then stay at or above seasonal over the next couple of days. Right now, relatively clear out there. A beautiful end to the first day of May. It is really warm through Windsor still. London the same, Hamilton the same. We're getting there. This overtakes us as we head into the day tomorrow and into our Friday before a little bit of rain makes its way in. But if you do want to hit up a patio tomorrow right around 3 o'clock, we're sitting at 19, 20 degrees kind of in that window there. A really light breeze, perfect for sitting outside. We do watch for a little rain in the afternoon on Friday, but I'll take it at 19 degrees. Yes, it's a soggy weekend, but heading into next week, fantastic. And a reminder about the new Lotto 649 with 2 big jackpots to be won on 1 ticket. Tonight's classic jackpot is $5 million. And the new gold ball jackpot is $40 million. You can head to olg.ca for more information.
Thank you, Jess. And that's it for us. But be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a great night.